Compounding of offences under Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. Section 84. Enticing or taking away or detaining with criminal intent a married woman, compounded by the husband of the woman and the woman. Section 115, Clause 2. Voluntarily causing hurt, compounded by the person to whom the hurt is caused. Section 122, Clause 1. Voluntarily causing hurt on provocation, compounded by the person to whom the hurt is caused. Section 122, Clause 2. Voluntarily causing grievous hurt on grave and sudden provocation, compounded by the person to whom the hurt is caused. Section 126, Clause 2, 127, Clause 2. Wrongfully restraining or confining any person, compounded by the person restrained or confined. Section 127, Clause 3. Wrongfully confining a person for 3 days or more, compounded by the person confined. Section 127, Clause 4. Wrongfully confining a person for 10 days or more, compounded by the person confined. Section 127, Clause 6. Wrongfully confining a person in secret, compounded by the person confined. Section 131, 133, 136. Assault or use of criminal force, compounded by the person assaulted or to whom criminal force is used. Section 302. Uttering words etc. with deliberate intent to wound the religious feelings of any person, compounded by the person whose religious feelings are intended to be wounded. Section 303, Clause 2. Theft, compounded by the owner of the property stolen. Section 314. Dishonest misappropriation of property, compounded by the owner of misappropriated. Section 316, Clause 3. Criminal breach of trust by a carrier, wharfinger, etc., compounded by the owner of the property in respect of which the breach of trust has been committed. Section 317, Clause 2. Dishonestly receiving stolen property, knowing it to be stolen, compounded by the owner of the property stolen. Section 317, Clause 5. Assisting in the concealment or disposal of stolen property, knowing it to be stolen, compounded by the owner of the property stolen. Section 318, Clause 2. Cheating, compounded by the person cheated. Section 319, Clause 2. Cheating by personation, compounded by the person cheated. Section 320. Fraudulent removal or concealment of property, etc., to prevent distribution among creditors, compounded by the creditors who are affected thereby. Section 321. Fraudulent preventing from being made available for his creditors a debt or demand due to the offender, compounded by the creditors who are affected thereby. Section 322. Fraudulent execution of deed of transfer containing false statement of consideration, compounded by the person affected thereby. Section 323. Fraudulent removal or concealment of property, compounded by the person affected thereby. Section 324, Clause 2, 324, Clause 4. Mischief when the only loss or damage caused is loss or damage to a private person, compounded by the person to whom the loss or damage is caused. Section 325. Mischief by killing or maiming animals, compounded by the owner of the animal. Section 326, Clause A. Mischief by injury to works of irrigation by wrongfully diverting water when the only loss or damage caused is loss or damage to private person, compounded by the person to whom the loss or damage is caused. Section 329, Clause 3. Criminal trespass, compounded by the person in possession of the property trespassed upon. Section 329, Clause 4. House trespass, compounded by the person in possession of the property trespassed upon. Section 332, Clause C. House trespass to commit an offence other than theft, punishable with imprisonment, compounded by the person in possession of the house trespassed upon. Section 345, Clause 3. Using a false trade or property mark, compounded by the person to whom loss or injury is caused by such use. Section 347, Clause 1. Counterfeiting a property mark used by another, compounded by the person to whom loss or injury is caused by such use. Section 349. Selling goods marked with a counterfeit property mark, compounded by the person to whom loss or injury is caused by such use. Section 351, Clause 2, 351, Clause 3. Criminal intimidation, compounded by the person intimidated. Section 352. Insult intended to provoke a breach of peace, compounded by the person insulted. Section 354. Inducing a person to believe himself an object of divine displeasure, compounded by the person induced. Section 356 Clause 2. Defamation. Except such cases as are specified against Section 356 Clause 2 of BNS 2023, compounded by the person defamed. Section 356 Clause 3. Printing or engraving matter knowing it to be defamatory, compounded by the person defamed. Section 356 Clause 4. Sale of printed or engraved substance containing defamatory matter, knowing it to be contained such matter, compounded by the person defamed. Section 357. Criminal breach of contract of service, compounded by the person with whom the offender has contracted. Do subscribe for more videos.